What's going on, traders? Two for two today. One was actually in the pre-market right when I loaded everything up around 8 o'clock Eastern, and the other one was a little bit in the afternoon. So neither were normal size. I actually upped my size by double today. I was planning on trying to make 100 per good trade instead of 50. I'm just going to start ramping it up and see what happens. I need to not be afraid anymore. But anyways, QH was our first one. We didn't actually even start recording on this one. Not a typical trade you'd see me take. The typical trade you'd see me take is something that it did out of the open, but we didn't have shares available at this point. But I loaded it up. I noticed it was going above that little bit of resistance area it put there in the pre-market around 367. And I noticed we had a really good whole number area that it rejected off of in the after hours on Friday. So essentially, I just took 100 shares looking to make like 15, 20 cents on it. Like I said, small size, and just putting my stop above four there. I literally was ready to hit it if it went to 401, which is why when it went up to 391, I decided to add another 100 because I was like, I'm not really risking that much as it is. What's a little bit more risk to actually maybe make something if this does reject at four? And it never actually got there. 391 ended up being the top there, got the add there at 387, made a nice little drop down, took 100 off, and then put the other 100 down a little bit lower in this consolidation area. Although I was going to try for this 340 area, as you can see, there was a bunch there, but just decided the front running the half dollar, I believe it was, yeah, 356. So was pretty happy with it. We ended up making 35 bucks on it. Could have made a little bit more, I guess, had we went for a little bit more on the initial share size, but it was kind of hanging out here. And I didn't like that that was previous resistance. I thought it was going to try to use it as support. So I took half off just to be safe. And then it ended up dumping there a little bit soon after. So I had my order out. It actually went down right through it. I was going to take 50 off. I actually tried to change it, but I didn't get there quick enough. It actually flashed down and got me. So that was that one. UTME was the other trade. This one was a little bit crazy. It's to load here. And yeah, just a sub dollar stock. It made a little bit of a run and then it finally jumped up through a dollar. It was actually right near the halt price, which is why I got in. I think it was at 111. I tried to front run it with 300 shares at 108. It actually filled us 14 shares. As you can see, it filled us 14 shares at 11:02:24, and it was almost a full minute went by, and it finally came up and gave us the other 286 shares. I left the order there just because I figured if we still got that, the halt was still sitting there at 111. It was fine. However, it went right up to the halt price, which I think had moved to like 112, didn't halt, and then it moved up to 119, and then it did halt. And then, of course, because it seems like every one of these that I get into, it decides to gap up, and this actually gapped up all the way to a dollar 40. And it opened up at a dollar 40, went up to a dollar 42. And I wanted to see what it did before I tried to add because we were low on shares and I wanted to see if this was going to maybe be one of those crazy ones that just continued. And I didn't want to just blindly add and then it just halts up again. And then we're kind of, stuck. I was going to try to hit the backside of this thing. But unfortunately, it opened up at 140, went to that 142, like I said, and then it just pretty much came straight down. And this being on SSR, it never really got hit on the ask. It just kept getting sold into, and it pretty much came straight down and it actually tried to halt here at one, or it did halt here at 106. And I was like, wow, all the volume that it had was on this candle. There's a lot of people underwater. This thing's probably going to go back under a dollar. I'm going to try to hold it. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. It actually gapped up again off of that and opened at 108, which is exactly where my average was at 108. And it went all the way back up to 122. I let it make this lower high. At this point, I was like, you know what? I don't want to consider myself stuck, but I was like, I don't feel like this is going back to the highs. I will give it to about 130, which is where I was thinking. I actually had to leave to go get my wife's. She was getting tires put on her car today, so I had to leave to do that at 11:30. It was like 11:40, and as you can see, we ended up going through that a little bit. I got there just in time, but I let it make this high here, and I decided to put my stop above that, and I was going to leave, basically saying I will go ahead and just stop out above 122. And I put a take profit order actually at 91 cents, which is exactly where it ended up going. But as I was about to leave, it gave us a flush down towards the dollar. I decided to move my order up to $1.03 just to front run the dollar. It actually filled me and then actually just flushed all the way down there to 91. I didn't see this because I literally got filled and left all at the same time. So ended up being a $15 winner. Could have been a much worse loser, but is what it is. I'm not really going to fret about it. $50 on the day to start May. We're rhyming apparently today. Stop that right now. But hey, $50 at $50. Hopefully we can get a little bit more action tomorrow. Some like actual action. There was a lot of stuff moving in the afternoon. We had things like BFRG, Leju, uh, LXEH. Like there was a bunch of things that ended up running. Sorry, you got to scroll over for that one. But there's a bunch of things that are starting to run a little bit. They're all like small caps, maybe a couple rooms just having some fun. But hopefully it carries into tomorrow and maybe we can get some real money going. So all I got. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Always appreciate the support. If you do have any questions or comments, curious about what scanners I use, journal I use, those links are in the description. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.